Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Agajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe. Welcome to all for this session on Ganesha Purana to chapter 90. In the previous chapter, we have seen the lament by Rathi who was pleading Shiva to get her husband back. And with the boon given by Shiva, she could able to see Rama whenever she want. However, Rama was not having any body. He has become Ananga, one without a body. And then Rama himself went to Shiva asking him that he had not made any mistake. He was only working for a noble cause of uniting Shiva and Shakti so that the Skanda will be born who had later killed the demon Taraka. And then Shiva told him to please Ganesha, who would be able to fulfill his wish, and gave him the single syllable mantra of Ganesha. And then Kama performed the severe austerity and had the vision, the appearance of Gajanana. And then he asked Gajanana to give back his beautiful body. Then Ganesha told to him, absolutely everything you request will be yours, O Kama. After gaining birth from my charming belly, you will have a body of absolute beauty. You will be esteemed by everyone, and you will be triumphant over the triple world. Flower, a fruit, a young sprout, and the limb of a sensuous young woman, and a breeze will be reminders of you, and you will conquer Hara and so on with moonlight, the lotus, sandalwood, perfume, and the sound of flamingo. If you observe, all these are the means which will make us to remind of karma, remind of the desires. You will be present in the mind whenever these are seen or recollected, and because of that, you will be named Manobhu and Smriti Bhu. That means whenever we think of the desires, whenever we think of that karma, the desire will become more and more strengthened and it will take over on us. That is how exactly the desires will going to win over us. Your devotion towards my feet will be rock solid and you will never forget it. When I am recollected, I will appear before you when a great task is impending. After the illustrious Gajanana had given these boons to Kama, he disappeared while the gods and sages were watching. Then, after making a large image of Ganesha just as prescribed, Kama erected it and worshipped it with cooked food, modakas, laddukas, etc., prepared by Rathi. He named it Mahotkata because of its fiery energy. Then he constructed a lovely temple resplendent with jeweled columns. Born from Rukmini's belly, he was abandoned in the ocean by a demon. A fish swallowed him there, and a fisherman gave the fish to Shambhara, who presented it to Mayavathi. When she split it open, he came out of its belly, fully grown. Narada, the divine sage, came there and said to that Mayavati, this is Kama, who is fully grown because of you. He was taught various kinds of deceptions, after which he will going to kill Shambhara, and through Ganesha's favor, he who was one became many, armed with the many deceptions Mayavati had taught him. He went to the town of Saraswati and was known as Pradyumna. He was esteemed by all the gods as the cause of victory over the triple world, and favored by Gajanana, he became blissfully tranquil. Women such as Rukmini and so on looked at him as if he were another Krishna, and when he stood up, he was surrounded by embarrassed women. Realizing from Narada's speech that he was a son, they rejoiced and embraced him while Rathi came and bowed to him. An entire city was filled with joy when he was recognized. In fact, Pradyumna Mayavathi was a reincarnation of Rathi, while Pradyumna was a reincarnation of Manmatha. And when Shambhara kidnapped him, somehow finally he landed in the hands of Mayavati, his wife, and then Mayavati took the full care of him. She also taught him the different Maya Vidya, with the help of which he finally killed Shambhara and then returned to Dwaraka. When he returned to Dwaraka, he was so beautiful and he looked like he is another Krishna. In fact, to such an extent that even his own mother and other mothers, who are all the queens of Krishna, they themselves got confused and they thought that the Krishna himself came and they all stood up. And at that time, Narada came and Narada told them, he is not Krishna, he is Krishna's son, Pradyumna. He is a son for all of you. And they all became very happy. It was in this way that this image of Ganesha came to be in Janasthana, O great sage. I also told how Rama cut Shurpanaka's nose here in the same Janasthana, due to which the image was named Nasika. The place is also named as Nasika. Modakas looking like precious stones also appeared here now. Kama propitiated Gajanana with them, and both Rati and Madana rejoiced. Shesha also propitiated him here with a 6 syllable mantra. Then Vyasa asked the question, why and how did Shesha propitiate Gajanana, O Brahma? What did he get when Ganesha became very pleased? As merit increases through asking, hearing, and speaking about what I am asking, tell me about it in detail, O four-faced God. That's O Chaturmukha Brahma. Because while explaining about the Janasthana Vinayaka temple, Brahma told to Vyasa that not only Kama who performed his austerity here, even Shesha himself also performed his austerity in the same place and got blessed by Gajanana. And generally, people don't do all those things unless they get into trouble. So then Vyasa is interested to know why Shesha performed the austerity and what blessing and the boons he had got from Gajanana. And Brahma replied to him, you ask that well, O Brahmin. Become attentive, listen, and I will tell you the entire ambrosial tale. Vyasa, son of Satyavati, O sage, on one occasion Shambhu was comfortably seated with Parvati on the charming summit of the best of the mountains, the Parvata of Kailasha, which was strewn with many creepers and trees and resounded with the sounds of mountain torrents. Humming bees dwelt there on golden lotuses and breezes from the flowers of the jasmine. Mimosa, Ashoka, and Champaka delighted the heart of those dwelling on the peak of that mountain. The heavenly musicians, nymphs, yakshas, and kinnaras, gods, sages, and snakes went there to see Girija's husband. Some addressed him while bowing prostrate. The heavenly musicians sang loudly. The hosts of nymphs danced. Then they worshipped the 10 armed Hara, who was seated on a tiger's skin and surrounded by Nandi, Bringi, and other Pramathaganas. On Shankara's forehead there was a moon. He held a trident, a bull on his banner, and the residue of ashes of cremated bodies on his head. Till others worshipped the god with ritual practices conceived mentally, and some shutting their eyes became engrossed in meditation. Vasishta, Vamadeva, Jamadagni, Trita, Vita, Atri, Kanva, Bharadwaja, Gautama, and so forth, all these lords of the sages eulogized Parvati's husband with various eulogies. While they were uttering eulogies, Shesha became very arrogant, thinking, in the three worlds, I alone am the most eminent, no one else. Shiva is the most eminent, and I am located on the head of Shiva. So the capacity to hold up the earth exists in me because I stood on the head of Shiva, nowhere else at all. And because I was the rope of Vasuki, and because of my high birth, I have consequently attained immortality with the gods. Therefore, nobody is superior to me. Then Shambhu, the creator of triple world, Shiva, who see everything that is to be known, knowing that arrogance was in the heart of arrogance entered the head of Shesha. Suddenly and quietly he stood up, Shesha, who was on his head, into his hand, and he threw Shesha, who had so much arrogance, onto the ground, and each of his heads became tenfold, and then tenfold, then tenfold again. He was almost death-like for 1.5 hours, and from that time on, he became adorned with 1,000 heads. Then, barely alive, Shesha grieved. A decoration that is an entire snake is what I have become, an ornament of Hara, the Lord of Triple World. I do not know by what deed I have reached this particular condition where my head is broken into 1,000 pieces, but like a wingless bird, I cannot even move. What am I going to do now? Because Shiva, till now, he was an ornament on the head of Shiva. But then, because of his arrogance, Shiva pulled him out and threw him on the ground, which made his head to broke into 1,000 pieces. What am I going to do now? Where will I go? Who will now save me? Who will tell me the best way to regain my lost position? Who will remove my distress? He wondered anxiously. Then he saw sage Narada going on his way, and like some beggar who had found gold, the chief of serpents rejoiced. Narada saw him in front of him, his condition very distressed, immobile, scarcely breathing, like a sage sunk in meditation. Although he had complete knowledge of the situation, Narada still questioned Shesha. This story will continue later. Thus ends chapter 90 of Upasana Khanda of the glorious Ganesha Purana, in which we have seen that Kama ultimately had got his body and rejoiced his life with Rathi when he reborn to Krishna and Rukmini as Pradyumna. But though later he was abjected by Shambara, he could able to get to his wife Rathi, who has been reincarnated as Mayavathi, and Pradyumna and Mayavathi returned back to Dwaraka and they led a happy life. And then at the same time, Brahma told at the place where Kama performed the austerity, a place in Janasthana, which later named as Nasik because of Shurpanaka incident, and then even Shesha performed the austerity in the same place. Then Vyasa was interested to know the details of it. Then Brahma was narrating how Shesha, who was an ornament sitting on the head of Shiva, once got arrogant because he considered himself that he is greatest among all as he is staying on the head of Shiva. Then immediately Shiva pulled him out and threw him on the ground where Shesha's head was broken into 1,000 pieces, and he started lamenting. While during that period, when he was looking out for a savior, he saw Narada Let us see in the next chapter how Narada would help Shesha to regain his lost position. Namaste Sharada Devi Kashmira Puravasini Twamaham Prarthaye Nityam Vidya Danancha Dehime. Goodbye.